From the outside, my life looked exactly how a decent man is supposed to live. My name's Jason Collins. Mid-30s, mortgage paid on time, decent truck, health insurance, a wife who smiled in pictures, and a house that never embarrassed the neighbors. I thought that was what being a good husband meant. Lights on, fridge stocked, bills handled, no surprises. You show up where you said you'd show up. You fix the loose cabinet door. You remember to grab her almond milk, not regular, because she said it messes with her stomach. You play your position and you don't complain. Our marriage, on paper, looked fine. 10 years with Megan. Small 3-bedroom in a suburb where everyone mows their lawn on Saturday and posts pictures of their dogs on Sunday. We had a shared Google Calendar on the fridge, color-coded. Blue for my stuff, pink for hers, yellow for us. Friday takeout, Saturday errands, Sunday laundry. The kind of life where you know exactly what drawer the spare batteries are in. The warmth didn't disappear overnight. That would have been easier to recognize. Cooled slowly, the way coffee does when you forget it on the counter. You tell yourself you'll reheat it in a minute. Then an hour goes by and you're staring at something lukewarm and calling it good enough. Our conversations changed first. They stopped being about what we wanted and turned into what we had to get done. Did you pay the gas bill? Don't forget my mom's birthday. Trash goes out tonight. I'll be late Thursday, we've got a meeting. Logistics, schedules, notifications. Touches went next. Not all at once, just less. A kiss on the cheek instead of on the mouth. A quick pat on the shoulder instead of a hug. Lying on opposite sides of the bed. Phones lighting up our faces instead of each other. We started moving through the house like polite roommates. Excuse me. Sorry. You need the bathroom? Neutral. Civil. Efficient. I saw it. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I saw the distance opening up between us like a slow, quiet fault line. I noticed how she laughed more at her phone than at anything I said. I noticed how we could go a whole night talking and never actually say anything real. But I told myself this is what adulthood is. That real couples don't stay in that early, stupid, can't keep your hands off each other phase. That careers and stress and bills turn passion into routine, and routine into something like teamwork. I called it maturity. I called it normal. I called it just how things are when you grow up. What it really was, I'd understand later, the background. The quiet acceptance of distance. The illusion of safety I wrapped around myself so I wouldn't have to ask harder questions. Everything that came after started here. Inside a house that looked fine, with a marriage that looked fine, and a man who thought fine meant he was in control. Megan's job always lived in a different universe than mine. I work with things you can touch, tools, parts, contracts with numbers on them. She worked downtown at a firm where people said things like pipeline, bandwidth, and client-facing deliverables with a straight face. At first, her work stories were just noise in the background of dinner. Impossible deadline. Clients freaking out. The team's staying late again. I'd nod, ask a question here and there, and we'd move on. Then a new name showed up in the stories. Victor. Full name, Victor Hale. Project lead. Older guy. Super sharp, she said once. Eyes on her plate. Kind of intense, but in a good way. Everyone respects him. Okay. Every office has that guy. The mentor. The one everyone references like he built the place with his bare hands. I didn't think much of it. But over time, Victor went from a background name to a recurring character. Victor wants us to stay late. Victor took the team out for drinks. Victor thinks I should take on more responsibility. The way she said his name wasn't romantic. It was careful, like she was trying not to show too much of anything. Other things shifted. Small, easy-to-excuse things. New earrings. We were brushing our teeth one morning and I noticed them. Simple, just a little more polished than her usual. New? I asked, toothpaste in my mouth. She glanced in the mirror, almost like she'd forgotten. Yeah, the girls at work said they looked good. Even the guys noticed. She smiled, but not at me, at herself. Staying later at the office. Victor's pushing this deadline hard. I can't bail on the team, she'd say, grabbing her laptop bag. Don't wait up. more team drinks, more networking events, more just answering this one email. Her phone started living face down on the counter. She'd stand in the kitchen, back half turned, thumbs moving fast. I'd be on the couch, TV on, watching her body language instead of the screen. The little tilt of the phone away from me, the quick lock of the screen when I got up for water. One night, her phone lit up with a text while she was in the shower. Number, no name, just, great work today. Couldn't have done it without you. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I just stared at that line longer than I should have. When she came out, hair wet, wrapped in a towel, she saw the phone in my hand. It's just work stuff, Jason. Relax. Flat. Practiced. I wanted to ask who. I wanted to ask why no name. Instead, I swallowed it. Tossed the phone back on the bed. Because accusing your wife with nothing but a bad feeling feels like stepping off a cliff with no ground in sight. And I was still the guy who believed that being a good husband meant trusting her until you had a smoking gun in your hand. Later, I'd learned my instincts weren't paranoid. They weren't even early. They were late. I wasn't there that afternoon. But I've watched it enough times now that it feels like I was. Here's what I know. It was a weekday, mid-afternoon. Traffic low, sky overcast in that gray way the city gets when it can't decide if it's going to rain or not. Megan left the office early. Badge swipe confirms it. Told her team she had an errand before a late call. She walked 4 blocks, past a coffee shop we used to go to, past a place that sells overpriced plants, and turned into Victor Hale's building. Nice place. Not luxury, but clean, secure, quiet. An elevator camera catches her looking at her reflection, fixing her hair. Not smiling, not crying, just adjusting. The apartment itself I only know from the footage. Soft lighting, warm like a staged catalog photo. Music low, instrumental, nothing distinct enough to leave a mark. Couch with his jacket tossed over the arm like a prop someone placed there on purpose. Victor moves like a man who has rehearsed this. Easy. Confidence. Not rushing but not hesitating either. Like he has done this exact sequence with other women, other afternoons, other secrets. Megan, my wife, walks in with that half-numb, half-flattered look. The one that says, I shouldn't be here and I kind of like that I am at the same time. She acts like she's the one deciding how far this goes. She wasn't. Not really. I'm not going into details. I don't need to. What matters is simple. They had their 50 minutes. Fast. Detached. 2 adults crossing a line they could never uncross. What she thought was a one-time mistake got something she didn't plan on. Documentation. Because somewhere in that carefully lit room, cameras were quietly doing their job. Not one. Several. Different angles. Clean audio. No sign of surprise, no fumbling with controls. On that afternoon, Megan believed she was making a bad choice that would stay between 3 people. Herself, Victor, and her conscience. In reality, she'd just created a file. Perfect clarity. Perfect sound. A quiet time bomb waiting for its cue to ruin lives. From my point of view, nothing exploded. No screaming match. No confession. No broken plates. Life just kept going. If you look at my calendar from that time, it's boring. Work. Dentist, oil change, dinner at her parents'. Nothing circled in red. No arrow that says, this is where everything already changed. What I remember most is this. Megan got nicer. Started small. She came home on time more often. Put her phone down instead of welding it to her hand. Asked me about my day and actually listened, not just waiting for her turn to talk. One Thursday I walked in and she cooked dinner. Real dinner. Not takeout, not frozen. Chicken, roasted vegetables, salad. She had music on, hair tied back, an apron actually tied around her waist like some 1950s joke. What's the occasion? I asked, hanging up my keys. She shrugged. I just felt like it. You've been working hard. She said it so casually that I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Little compliments started landing. That shirt looks good on you. You've really been on top of things lately. I'm glad I married a man who doesn't quit. I soaked it up. Any man would. So I stepped up too. I started planning more. Suggested a small weekend trip to the coast. Booked a decent hotel, not the cheapest one I could find. Paid attention to her hair, her clothes, the way she'd look at herself in the mirror like she didn't quite recognize who was looking back. On the couch at night, she started leaning into me again. Head on my shoulder. Legs tucked under a blanket we actually shared. We'd watch a show all the way through without each of us disappearing into our phones. I remember thinking, maybe this is what marriage is. It dips, it cools, then it climbs back up if you stay. Maybe this was us surviving some rough patch I didn't fully understand. From her side, which I can only guess at now, she probably thought the same word in a different way. Surviving. She'd filed her sin away under one-time mistake, paid for it with guilt and better behavior, and buried it in the back of her mind. Act good enough, long enough, and maybe it cancels out. The irony is simple and ugly. The stronger I thought our marriage was getting, the closer we were to a cliff I didn't know existed. I thought we were rebuilding. We were just killing time before the impact. It was a regular night. Nothing cinematic. No storm outside. No dramatic music. Just me on the couch, half watching a game, half scrolling my phone while Megan cleaned up in the kitchen. My phone buzzed. Notification from a buddy I've known since high school. We don't talk every day, but when we do, it's jokes, memes, dumb videos. Nothing heavy. I tapped it without thinking, expecting a clip of someone eating pavement on a skateboard or some stupid filter video. Instead, I got a message. There's something you need to see. No emoji. No follow-up line. Just that. Under it, a link. The thumbnail took a second to load. Those few seconds feel like a lifetime now. At first, it was just colors and shapes. Then it sharpened. A woman half-turned. Brown hair I'd seen on a pillow 1,000 times. The curve of a shoulder I knew like my own hand. My brain did what it always does when it doesn't want to accept something. It stalled. Looks like her, but it's not. Just someone similar. Coincidence. Bad angle. I hit play. The video started mid-movement. No intro, no logo, no watermarks at the start. Just bodies, clothes, hands. I watched 1 second. Then another. Megan's face. Not a copy. Not a look-alike. Her voice, even though she wasn't saying much. Little sounds you only recognize if you've heard them before. I knew them. The room from scene 3 was right there, in my hand. Same lighting. Same layout. Same couch with the jacket tossed aside like it lived there. And then he walked into frame. Victor Hale, sleeves rolled, moving like he owned the air itself. There's a particular kind of silence that hits you when you run out of excuses. I felt it then. The angle shifted suddenly. Another camera, different position. Then another cut. Not some shaky hidden phone. This was set up. Planned. Someone had run cables, picked lenses, tested shots. It wasn't just that my wife had cheated. It was that the proof existed in high definition from multiple angles, like a small, contained movie starring the woman I married and a man who knew exactly what he was doing. My chest tightened. Felt like my ribs were being cinched from the inside. My ears started ringing. The room didn't spin, it shrank. Everything narrowed down to a phone screen I suddenly didn't want to be holding. I paused it. Her face froze mid-breath. If you've never seen your life break inside a single frame, there's no way to explain it. If you have, I don't need to. I set the phone down on the coffee table, screen still lit. The video paused on her. Megan? My voice sounded wrong. Too steady. Too far away. She walked in from the kitchen, drying her hands with a towel. Yeah. I didn't say anything. I just nodded toward the phone. Can you come here for a second? She picked it up casually, like it was a recipe or a text from a friend. Her thumb brushed the screen. The video resumed. I watched the color drain from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her knees bent slightly, like someone had knocked the air out of her. She whispered, Jason, I didn't want to hear it. Not then. Not at that moment. I stood up. I walked past her without touching her. The towel dropped from her hand to the floor. I went to our bedroom, closed the door, locked it. No shouting. No broken furniture. No dramatic lines. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands. while on the other side of the door my wife watched herself ruin our life on a screen. Words felt too small for what I'd just seen. The first night after the video, I didn't sleep. I lay on top of the covers, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling in the dark while Megan sat on the other side of the bedroom door. She tried everything but volume. Soft knocks. "Jason, please. I need to explain. It was a mistake." My phone lit up every few minutes. "I'm sorry. Please talk to me. It was only once. I don't know why I did it." I didn't answer. Not out of strategy. I just had nothing to say that wasn't poison. Morning came and felt no different. I showered, put on the same clothes from the day before, grabbed my keys, walked past her on the couch. Eyes swollen, hair a mess, still in yesterday's clothes. She sat up. "Jason, can we?" "I have to get to work," I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Driving was just a straight line between 2 points. No music. No thoughts I wanted to keep. Just white noise in my head and the taste of metal in my mouth. Throughout the day, more links came in. Different friends. Different group chats. No one sent jokes this time. One guy added context. "Dude, she's not the only one. Look at this. Different woman. Same room. Same jacket. Same man. Another. Then another. Compilations. Edits. Comment sections full of strangers who thought they were funny, arguing over who was more to blame. The women or the man behind the camera. I learned more than I ever wanted to know. Victor had a pattern. Different women from the same office rotated in and out of that staged apartment like appointments. All recorded. All stored. All leaking now. It made him look worse. It didn't make her look better. I went home the third morning and the house felt less like my home and more like an airport lounge. Somewhere you sit for a while until you go somewhere else. She was standing in the kitchen with 2 mugs of coffee. Like this was just another morning. Her eyes were red but hopeful in a way that almost made me angry. Like if she just said the right tearful line, we'd reset. "Jason," she started. "If you just let me." "You need to leave," I said. For words. Calm. Clear. No echo. She froze. "What?" "You need to pack a bag," I repeated. "Stay with your parents. A friend. I don't care where. But you don't live here anymore." She started crying for real then. Not the controlled kind. The ugly, broken kind. Hands shaking, shoulders heaving. "I love you," she said. Like that was some kind of spell. I believed she thought she meant it. Didn't matter. "I'm not asking," I said. "I'm telling you." No shouting. No threats. No dramatic speeches. Just a verdict. Delivered in the same house where I'd once promised her forever. She left with 1 small suitcase and a backpack. That was it. 10 years of marriage reduced to 4 trips to the car and a trash bag of old clothes she didn't care about anymore. I watched from the doorway. Not to torture myself. Just to mark the moment. You don't forget the sound of a trunk closing on what used to be your life. After she drove off, the house went quiet in a new way. Not the comfortable silence of 2 people doing their own thing. The hollow kind. Like the sound gets eaten before it reaches the walls. Mutual friends reacted the way people always do when something ugly hits close to home. They went quiet. The group chats shifted. One died completely. Another split into 2. The main one and the side one where I knew they were talking about this without adding me. Online it was worse. Her face was all over the place. Some people blurred it, some didn't. Comments piled up under every repost. "Homewrecker. Poor husband. She knew what she was doing. She was groomed. She wanted it." Everyone had an opinion. No one had the full story. They didn't need it. The video was enough for them. Through mutual acquaintances, bits of her new life reached me like scraps blown under a door. She'd moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy. Short-term lease. Took a lower-paying job at a different company. Desk in a corner, no leadership track, no team drinks with the boss. Apparently she kept her head down. Went in, did the work, left. No happy hour, no selfies with coworkers. I still saw her more often than I wanted, through a screen. Someone would send a link, Or I'd scroll past some thread arguing about whether she deserved sympathy or scorn. I didn't comment, didn't defend her, didn't pile on. I let the internet do what it does. Chew people up and move on to the next thing. She became a symbol for strangers. For some, she was every cheating wife they'd ever imagined. For others, she was proof of male predators in suits. For me, she was just Megan, my wife, who'd set a match to our life and had to live inside the smoke every day. The hardest part wasn't the public shame. It was realizing that the woman I'd trusted more than anyone had made a choice I could never unsee. And now we were both sentenced to live in the shadow of that decision, just from different sides of the glass. By the time we sat across from each other in that small office, the marriage had been dead for months. The paperwork was just a burial. No courtroom, no lawyers snapping at each other, just a conference table, a stack of printed terms, and a pen that felt heavier than it should have. Megan looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just diminished, like someone had turned down whatever light she used to carry. She didn't make eye contact much, didn't argue about money or furniture, didn't ask for the house. She just signed, page after page. I did the same. The woman I once planned a future with was now a person I exchanged documents with. A logistical task, a signature, a final line item between two people who ran out of anything real to say. When it was over, the mediator gave us both copies and said something polite, something about closure and moving forward. Words you say to people you'll forget by lunch. We walked out into the hallway together, but not together. She went left toward the elevator. I went right toward the stairs. No goodbye, no hug, not even a handshake. Just distance doing what distance does. A week later, I saw her by accident. I was walking downtown, grabbing a coffee before a job site meeting, and there she was inside a cafe, alone at a small table, both hands wrapped around a cup like she needed the warmth to stay upright. She was thinner, not in a dramatic way, just in the way stress carves you down slowly. Her hair was tied up messily. She wasn't on her phone. I wasn't reading. She was just staring out the window, unfocused, like she was somewhere else entirely. I stopped for a second, long enough to recognize the version of her she'd become. Not my wife, not the woman from the videos, just someone living with the fallout of her own decision. She didn't see me. I didn't step inside. There are moments where you could say something, comfort, accusation, maybe forgiveness, but the truth is, none of it would change a thing. So I turned away, walked back to my truck, and felt a quiet grief settle in. Not for the end of our marriage, not even for the betrayal, for the ordinary, anonymous life we both lost. I make money with words, but this is the one story I'd trade anything not to know how to put into sentences. From the outside, it looks simple. My wife cheats, husband finds out, divorce, done. That's how people like to package it, short, clean, easy to pick a side. It doesn't feel like that from the inside. From my side, it's a long chain of choices and silences. 1,000 tiny moments where I could have asked a question and didn't. 1,000 moments where she could have turned around and didn't. Nobody sees those. They only see the one moment someone bothered to film. That's the part one keep coming back to. It wasn't just that she cheated. It's that it got recorded, edited, shared, consumed. One harmless flirt at work. One it's just lunch. One just come by for a bit. No one will know. 50 minutes in an apartment. That's all it took to wipe out 10 years of a life we built. Our wedding, the holidays, the little routines that felt solid. It doesn't matter how much good came before. The world doesn't weigh it like a scale. It sees the worst 5 minutes and decides that's all you are. The internet is perfect for that. It doesn't forget. It doesn't get tiring. It doesn't care what that video costs you privately. People move on to the next scandal, the next clip, the next outrage, but the file doesn't move on. It sits there, mirrored, downloaded, uploaded again under new names. You can delete one link, report one profile, maybe scare one guy into taking it down. There are always 10 more. Some night, 20 years from now, she might be on a date with some man who doesn't know her past, and he might get a DM from an old buddy. Bro, isn't this her? That's the reality she has to live with. No clean slate. No true, fresh start. Just distance and hoping the file stays buried long enough. As for Victor Hale, I'd like to tell you I don't think about him, but that would be a lie. I know his type now. Older. Polished. Knows how to read a room. Knows exactly which women feel unnoticed, underappreciated, or bored out of their minds. He plays mentor, then friend, then something else. All the while, he's already picked the angle of the cameras. He used shame as armor. If any woman went to HR or the police, she'd be dragging herself through her worst moment publicly, while he sat there in a suit, regretting any misunderstanding. They count on that, in silence, on the fact that most people will do anything to avoid having their private humiliation printed, replayed, dissected. But I'm not turning him into the entire story. He's not some mastermind who hypnotized her. He set up the stage, sure. She still walked onto it. Megan made her choice. No one shoved her through that door. No one forced her to answer his messages, lie about her schedule, or step into that apartment. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't a kid. She was a grown woman who knew the vows she'd taken and broke them anyway. And me? I don't get to stand here pretending I was perfect either. I ignored what I knew in my gut. I saw the distance growing and decided that's just how marriage gets. I let us become polite co-workers instead of husband and wife and told myself that I was mature. I saw her phone tilt away from me. The late nights. The new energy she only seemed to have for work. And I swallowed my questions because I didn't want to be that jealous guy. I'm not saying any of that made her cheat. Didn't. But it helped build the quiet space where it could happen. People ask me sometimes what I learned from all this. Like there's a motivational quote at the end of it. I wish I had something cleaner to hand them. Here's what I actually learned. You're never as safe as you think you are. Comfort isn't security. Routines aren't loyalty. A shared mortgage isn't a shield. The internet turns people into symbols. To half the comments, Megan is every cheating wife. To the other half, she's another victim of a predator boss. To me, she's just the woman I loved who destroyed our life with one decision. None of those versions fully match. All of them exist. Some truths don't fade. You just grow around them. There's no unseeing that video. No unhearing the way she sounded with someone else. Time doesn't fix that. It just puts distance between you and the moment you found out. So no, this isn't a revenge story. I didn't burn his car. I didn't expose her in some dramatic post. I didn't go full movie script and win the breakup with a new life that looks better on social media. And it's not a plea for sympathy. Plenty of men have gone through worse and had less to show for it. I'm not special because my heartbreak got uploaded to a server. This is a record. Me as a man saying, this happened, this is how it felt, this is what it cost, and this is what I did after. I got up. I went to work. I signed the papers. I let her go. I refused to let that 50-minute video be the only thing that defined me, even if it follows her everywhere she goes. The real work after something like this isn't forgiving or forgetting. It's carrying a truth that can't be edited, deleted, or scrolled past, and deciding every day what kind of man you're going to be with that weight on your back.